Okay, so in this clip, I want to talk about people that get upset about trading results, having realistic expectations, and the 95% that lose. Okay, so that comment you've just seen there was recently left on the YouTube channel. It's not the only one we've had of its kind. In fact, we've had them on Facebook and other places too. It's quite understandable that people would come from that position and they might have some views like that. So I just want to sort of address those views and give you a little bit of feedback to the two main parts to that comment. So first of all, to make £2,000 a week from the UK racing, trading on Betfair is quite possible. In fact, you could make a hell of a lot more. However, that's not to say that it's an easy thing to do. And I always pride myself on making it clear as much as I possibly can that it's not necessarily the easiest activity to conquer. However, once you do, it becomes a lot easier to consistently make that money. So £2,000 a week profit is really quite doable. In fact, you could probably make double that, if not more, depending on your level of skill. And that doesn't apply to everyone naturally. So to put that into context, I've been fortunate enough over time to be invited to different betting events, obviously by companies like Betdaq, Betfair. I've met some high profile customers, and this is probably, further right up the top of the tree. However, I can tell you, having met some of them and had a beer with them where things sometimes slip out a little bit more, there are people out there that are making significantly more. In fact, I've been told by one person that it's not impossible to make £6,000 a day. Now, that doesn't apply to me. I'll certainly never actually make that kind of money per day because that is huge money. You think, £6,000 a day, and I think, to be quite honest, the vast majority of that would have been automated. The higher profile customers that do make huge amounts of money, per race and on a regular basis are automated, and I can't fault them for that. However, I just wanted to sort of put that in there for a little bit of contrast, a little bit of context. It's actually really quite possible to make that money if you're doing the right thing and you're doing it on a consistent basis and you understand how the markets work. Although, like I said, disclaimer, it really isn't something that's going to happen for everyone, and particularly very unlikely on day one, month one, even month three of learning to trade. You probably will have seen other people as well, like Psychoff on social media. Obviously trades football, does very well. Some huge results there. Again, doesn't apply to everyone, but he is real, they are genuine. I'm fully aware of that. You can't really argue with it. So I think that sort of addresses the fact of not everybody wins. And to be quite honest, isn't that just life? Isn't that just the way the world works? I mean, if you take yourself outside of trading and look at the normal world, if you like, the distribution of wealth. It's like there's 5% of people, and this is where this 95% statistic comes from, 5% of people that take the majority of the money, and of that 5%, probably only 2% that take, the biggest portion of all. But it's just life, is what I'm trying to say. I don't really subscribe to some of the views and things that I say. You see us mentioning millennials in that comment there, and I think that, particularly my generation, being 31, grown up in a world where, you get a trophy for participating, it's not really something that I subscribe to. It's certainly something that the betting markets do not subscribe to. The markets are cold, hard, unrewarding, and quite frankly, if you make a mistake, you will be reprimanded by the market. You live and die by the sword when you're trading, is what I'm saying. So if you kind of come in with that fuzzy kind of view of, oh well, everybody should be able to make some money and everybody should get their chance and everybody, it's just not how it works. It's not reality. So aside from that, the 95%, this is the part that I wanted to explain and talk about in my view and my perception of why the 95% line, if you like, doesn't really necessarily have to apply to you or many other people if you're willing to put yourself in the right position. So when you think about it, 95% of people are expected to lose within betting and trading. So of that 95%, if you think about it logically, what is that built up of? So for a start, you've probably got like 50% of the betting market is just recreational punters. They're people that like a bet for a bit of fun. They don't really care about value, don't care about price. They're not they might think they're actively trying to, to win by reading a bit of form or whatever, or reading the latest Racing Post article that tells them to bet on something. But really, in reality, they're not even competing. They're not even part of the race or the game. So the first sort of, I don't know, we'll call it 50%. It's a large chunk. It's the biggest chunk of the market. They're not even trying. So when you take the 95% and you take that off, then, already your chances have considerably increased. Further on from that, you've got the Sunday crew, the people that are like, I'll get round to it, the people that, they're not dedicated, is what I'm trying to say. People that are not dedicated, that aren't willing to put in the effort and put in the work. On top of that, you've got people that haven't got the right tools, whether they know it or not. People that haven't got things like trading software, that haven't taken time to educate themselves and learn about the market, how it functions, over rounds, who's involved. You've got people that, quite frankly, and it is a small segment, that just won't ever really have the aptitude to succeed as traders, as unfortunate as that may sound. That's just how it is. Again, I'm being realistic here, it's life. And then you've got other people like courtsiders, people that will make the effort, that will go, all the way as far as they possibly can to get to the court, to get the fastest feed, to get ahead of everyone. Once you take all of those different segments out, you're actually left with a small chunk of people. So this is what I'm saying. You're not actually competing against much in terms of actively turning a profit and succeeding in what you're doing. When you look at it like that, it's a lot more positive, and that's the way that I've always viewed things. So if you're willing to go the extra mile, you're willing to put the effort in, you're willing to take the time, get the education, get the tools, be in the right place at the right time, and quite frankly just be dedicated, then you've got a far higher chance than this 5% statistic that seems to bounce around and people like to use as an excuse and say it's not possible and it's not possible for everyone else. And quite frankly, I think everybody's in with a chance. Some will make it, some won't. That's just the way things go. Only once you then reach that point in time where you've given it your all, you've got everything you possibly can to help you on your way, and you still don't succeed, then I would have a little bit of sympathy for comments like that. Unfortunately, I don't really think that is the case for this one. I may be wrong, and I really hope I am. This is not a personal thing. It's just something, an observation that I've made over time, different people, different views, and I just wanted to put my perception out there on this problem, if you want to call it that, and thoughts about the 95% versus the 5%. But at the end of the day, the people that get to the 5%, they're the ones that put in the time and effort. And this is something that I've said before. If I put a video up on YouTube, or I put a Q&A up and it's titled something like how to make £1,000 in 3 simple steps on day 1 of betting, then, everybody's interested, everybody's got time, there's a lot of arbitrary values included in that, but that's just not realistic. That's not just how it works. The reality is, the large parts that go completely ignored, I can vouch for myself, and if you take the time to read back over the blog, over the years, you'll see that there's been points where I've put in huge amounts of time, huge amounts of effort. I've sat up till 2, 3 in the morning every single night learning about what's happening in the market, just so I can find that one little edge, that one little smidgen on the market, the advantage, and I understand enough within the situation to be able to read the market, read the flow of money as it comes in, understand what's important, cipher it away from what's not, and then eventually you're left with a profitable edge or situation where £2,000 a week becomes really quite acceptable.